Hello, I'm Org, and in this video we are going to be looking at the Hosho, which is the new Japanese Tier 4 aircraft carrier. I say new because it's just come out in the latest patch, released this morning, and, well, it's actually a fairly different creature to the Langley, the American Tier 4 carrier. The big difference is that Japanese aircraft carriers, they have more flights operational at one time, but each flight only consists of 4 aircraft. Well, you can see over on the right hand side of the screen there, they actually call them squadrons. The Hosho gets 3 squadrons to command, whereas the Langley only gets 2 now, but the Langley gets 2 squadrons of 2 squadrons of 6, while the Hosho gets 3 of 4, which gives kind of advantages and disadvantages to the Japanese. The advantage is that they can be in more places at once, and they can coordinate their attacks better or stagger their attacks more easily than the Americans. The downside is that there is less power per attack. I think it might be particularly problematic with fighters, because you'll be sending 4 Japanese fighters against 6 American fighters. But I haven't actually tested that yet, because I haven't actually encountered a Langley in-game yet that's actually got fighters on board. Everyone I've encountered has gone all bombers. What else is important about the Hosho? Well, it's important for historical reasons, because this was the first purpose-built aircraft carrier, as in the first one that wasn't converted from a cruiser or battle cruiser or merchant ship or anything like that. And because of that, it's actually very different to the Langley. It's got a decent top speed for one. 25 knots is pretty good. It's also pretty manoeuvrable. It's also got decent anti-aircraft fire, which the Langley doesn't. This thing can't really defend itself against enemy aircraft, but it can kill a few of them on the way. Probably the only real downside to the Hosho is that it doesn't actually have that many aircraft. 24 aircraft in total once you've upgraded it, which is probably enough, but I have run out in, well, quite a few games that have basically gone on for a bit longer than you'd hope. Anyway, let's get on and show you some replay. I should also say that so far the Hosho's been an unlucky ship for me. You'll see why in this replay, the next one. So what you see me here, I'm just getting my aircraft up and ready. And basically my plan here is to send them over to the right, into the top corner of the screen, where the battleships usually congregate. That's what I'm trying to say. Battleships. So when I get up here, hopefully we'll find the bulk of the enemy team and we'll be able to do some significant damage to it with our torpedo bombers. The fighters I've sent to just kind of guard a single battleship, kind of in the centre of the line, just because it's a good position where I can move to the left or right rapidly to protect my ships from incoming bombers. I've also moved ordered my ship over to the far right of the map. This is kind of a small map, so there's not really much space to move it, but I feel that's kind of as close as I can get to where my torpedo bombers will be operating without putting my ship in unnecessary danger. Now we've spotted torpedo bombers coming in, so I order my fighters to attack them. Then I change my mind and instead order my fighters towards the ship that I think they are probably going after. Then I see some torpedo bombers coming in closer to me. I do the exact same thing. Initially order them to attack and then start ordering them on an intercepting course. Because of course, if you just order them to attack the bombers directly, they'll fly straight towards them, which means they'll end up chasing them instead of coming at them head on here like I want them to. And the fighters do make short work of enemy torpedo bombers. Unfortunately, because these are Japanese torpedo bombers, I can actually only target one of the 4, or one group of 4 at a time, which means the other 8 will get their torpedoes off.
Group 2, target destroyed.
I shot down that
that
squadron and I've ordered my fighters to chase after another one. They've already got their torpedoes off, so the damage is done, but at least I can take a few of them down. And that's the second squadron just deployed, so we're chasing after the last one. And while that's happening, I'm lining up a torpedo attack on this battleship. And I did it poorly. I tried adjusting, but it was too late. See, my fighters are well over enemy ships, so I ordered them to return to my carrier to rearm. And the battleship manages to dodge those torpedoes. It's one of the new American battleships, which seem very good at maneuvering. This one is lined up a bit better.
Group 4 returning.
Got 3 hits there, did about 12,000 damage. So that's an alright start to the game, I suppose. 8 aircraft destroyed and 12,000 odd damage. Plus I think I did a bit of flooding damage there, but it's stopped now. And now we've just got to wait for all of our aircraft to land and rearm, which is the boring part of playing aircraft carriers. Usually at this point I'm mucking around with my fighters, but I've already ordered them to come and rearm, so I can't do that. My fighters will be up in 1 second, so I've ordered them to attack the bombers.
Group 2 ready.
And luckily enough, this carrier driver, I suppose, you know, stuffs around with the planes a bit, so it actually gives me time for my fighters to arrive. I mean, they're obviously trying to line up a really good attack run, but those ones dropped the torpedoes, so I switched to the other squadron, which has also dropped the torpedoes. It doesn't look like it's going to be good for that battleship, but my fighters are almost there. They've just arrived on screen, so they'll catch up to those torpedo bombers and get a few more kills. I'm just ordering my torpedo bombers to go, well, sit over that battleship. My fighters go to cover this other one, just because it looks like the main battle's actually happening down the south here, which is a bit unusual, but we'll have to deal with it. Things don't actually look great for us in the north there either. Well, actually, if you look at the top, you'll see that our team's actually losing this quite badly already. Okay, so I've ordered my torpedo bombers. They're both up. They're both heading towards that battleship. And once they arrive, I'll be able to actually do things with them. I've ordered my carrier into that bottom corner because, again, it's closer to where my aircraft will be operating, so I'll be able to recover them quicker. More torpedo bombers coming in, so I sent my fighters after them. And while they're doing that, I'm going to try and torpedo this battleship.
Group 3, we're under
Again,
attack.
it's not great, I don't think.
Group 3, returning to ship.
But looks like we might get 1 or 2 hits here. 1 hit, only 4,500 damage. But I've got my second squadron just here. And we shot down 4 more torpedo bombers while that was happening. And this looks like a decent run.
Group 2, stand by for instructions. Over.
3 hits. That looked like about 13,000 damage, and that battleship's not particularly happy. But, well, they're clearly going to win the enemy team here. It's just, there's way too many of them, and very few ships left to protect myself and the other Hosho. And there's my secondary guns firing away at a destroyer, which you know is a bad situation to be in when you're in an aircraft carrier. I'm running away as fast as I can, but there's not a lot I can do in this situation. And we'll fire on the deck. I can't land these aircraft. So I put out the fire, order my aircraft to take off. And there goes those torpedo bombers. I turn my ship to dodge the destroyer's torpedoes, which is easy enough to do since, well, the Hosho is a pretty manoeuvrable ship. Order my torpedo bombers just to auto-aim at the destroyer. And here's Squadron 4 is going to do the same. Now I've just ordered my fighters to protect me, because I'm expecting at some point enemy torpedo bombers will show up and try and sink me. Ooh, this pretty close. No, destroyers dodged them. The secondary guns are still going away, but they're not actually anywhere near strong enough to sink anything. And I'm getting absolutely battered here. It's a bit of an odd torpedo spread by Squadron 4, but I might get lucky with it. Nope. Well, they might still get lucky, but I'm sunk. And the only ship that's left is our last aircraft carrier. And you see there I also had my special pennants on in that match, which I think gave me a 10% bonus to experience earned. Which, I was going to say it's kind of a waste, but no, I did alright. 7 torpedo hits and 12 enemy aircraft destroyed in a very quick match. And this guy's not going to do particularly well. Or at least you can't expect them to, with 3 squadrons of torpedo bombers coming in and a bunch of destroyers right there. Took 1 hit there, and another one on the bow. But it looks like I might actually be able to dodge this next wave of torpedoes. Yep, but there's a destroyer right there. And you're not going to be able to dodge those ones. So yeah, that's the game. As I say, I did alright. I think personally 1293 experience is actually pretty good, although the credits weren't that great. 7 torpedo hits, 12 enemy aircraft destroyed. Second best in my team, as I said. I think I did alright. It's just, well, we only managed to sink 2 enemy ships, which is a bit of a problem. Actually, that's a bit of an understatement saying it's a bit of a problem. It's basically why we lost. But see, I did 30-odd thousand damage and a bit more from flooding, and shot down as 12 bombers, which, well, it's near enough to a quarter of the enemy aircraft's attacking force. So I was probably doing my share there, I think. And yeah, that's about it. This next game, it's a tier 5 game, but it's kind of okay because the enemy team only has tier 4 carriers, the same as me, so I'm not woefully underpowered in this game. But it's kind of interesting because it's all aircraft carriers and battleships. There's no destroyers or cruisers in this game. It's the first time I've actually been in a game like this, but there have been a few games that have come close to that. Basically everyone's trying out their new Japanese carriers and American battleships. So you see me kind of doing the same as last time, just getting my aircraft up and together. I was initially thinking I'd protect that lone battleship, but I decided that's kind of not worth it for my fighters, and I send them over to this main group, just because here they can protect more ships at once, and that lone battleship's going to have to fend for itself. And now I send my torpedo bombers off to scout and try and find an enemy battleship to torpedo. See, most people well, you see the other carrier player on my team is doing it, he's sending his fighters forward to scout. I prefer to keep my fighters back to counter enemy bombers and use my bombers as scouts, since they're going to have to go forward anyway. Oh, enemy torpedo bombers spotted, but no fighters, so I continue moving my bombers forward. And actually I think I spotted the 3 torpedo bomber squadrons, which means that that player doesn't have any fighter squadrons. In fact, in this game the enemy team have 2 carriers. They've both all got bombers, so there's just no fighters for us to kill, which is actually a really good situation to be in for our team. I was thinking of doing an old-fashioned X-spread here with my auto-aim, just to see how it goes, but the enemy ship turns quite sharply there. So I decided to go with my new strategy, which I didn't actually talk about. It's what I've been throwing out lately, is that I send one squadron in, with the idea being it would get some torpedo hits and cause flooding, which the player targeted would then, be obliged to repair, because you can't let your ship keep flooding. And the second squadron would then come in and, get some more hits, do some more flooding, at which point they couldn't repair it for another minute and a half. And so they do a lot of damage. Fortunately, for some reason, my torpedoes lately, they haven't been flooding very often. Anyway, since I've noticed there's no fighters here, I decided to send my fighters to kill these bombers while they're just circling aimlessly. That battleship's going to get very badly hurt there. Oh no, it's managed to dodge most of them actually, so good driving there, battleship. And we see 2 of the torpedo bomber squadrons. I actually thought they were going to try and follow my torpedo bombers back to me essentially, but, well, maybe they were trying to, but when they saw the fighters they broke off and instead started heading towards A. But my fighters are able to catch up with them without any problems. And these fighters make really short work of enemy torpedo bombers. Well, you saw it in the last video as well. But there's the entire squadron gone, so we chase down this next one.
Destroyed. Group 2, awaiting instructions.
I like to come and have a watch occasionally. So that battleship there must be pretty happy, because those torpedo bombers were clearly going for it. So now I'm just kind of scouting out with my fighters. Just kind of wondering if the aircraft carrier would send more torpedo bombers up, because I've still got a bit of ammunition left, so I can probably get one more squadron.
Our team has taken the lead.
Another advantage of the Japanese is that their aircraft have quicker turnarounds. In this last patch, basically the more aircraft in a squadron, the longer it takes to rearm and refuel it. That's true for the Americans as well as Japanese. If the American squadron's at half strength, it refuels and rearms very quickly. But since the Japanese are always at quite, comparatively low strength, they refuel and rearm very quickly. So we've spotted 3 torpedo bombers, or 3 squadrons of torpedo bombers I should say. So it's an opportunity to use the last bit of that ammunition before I send my fighters back to rearm. At the same time I'm ordering my torpedo bombers forward because, well, they've got to at some point. Okay, still got a little bit of ammo left in there, so we'll target one more of these squadrons. Luckily it's not at tier 4, so ships don't actually have very good AA, except for the Ubari, which does actually have good AA. So you don't really have to worry about flying past or over battleships here. I mean, they will eventually kill me, but you can see I'm taking a fair bit of fire and still nothing shot down. Got one more torpedo bomber, but we've got to head back now. Which means we've shot down 12 of the 27 aircraft that carrier holds.
Group 3 taking fire.
And we'll try and line up Torpedo Squadron 3 on this battleship. And that looks pretty alright to me. And then Squadron 4's coming in behind. Oh, they just armed in time, got 2 hits. didn't do much damage though, but a bit of flooding in here. Oops, well the second one was going to go in to finish it off, but friendly battleship did so for us. But fortunately there's another battleship and an aircraft carrier over here. I decided to target the battleship because, well, I'm actually very aware that that aircraft carrier is very low on aircraft. It's taken at least 18 losses, I think, which, well, it doesn't leave it with very much aircraft at all. In fact, it leaves it with 9 aircraft. So I send Squadron 4 after this battleship, which I tried to adjust at the last minute because I don't really like the looks of this, but won't let me. But it kind of works out alright for me here. Get 1, 2 hits, don't cause any flooding, which again for some reason it's just not happening very much. And time to order my fighters forward again. And I start moving my aircraft carrier into the A point, or the A capture base, just because the enemy are kind of everywhere else, so it seems the safest place to be. Okay, a lot of enemy torpedo bombers, and they're pretty obviously going after this battleship, so I've ordered my fighters there to escort it. Fighters are about halfway there, and fortunately for me the torpedo bombers are taking the long way around the battleship, which gives time for my fighters to arrive, and I can intercept one of the squadrons while my allied aircraft carrier intercepts the other. And between us we're actually able to completely defeat that torpedo attack. Now I suspect there's more torpedo bombers to the north. I think I saw one briefly pop up on the mini-map, but there's probably going to be a lot more over by where that aircraft carrier is. And group number 3 has arrived in position to attack the enemy battleship, so I order squadron number 2 to attack the aircraft over there, while number 3 moves into position for an attack. Group 4 is ready, so I also order it up into the air, but not to anywhere in particular. And Group 2's killed those torpedo bombers, but I can't really look at them right now because I've got to deal with Group 3 here. And well, this hasn't gone very well for me because the ship turned when I didn't expect it to, and I wasn't really prepared for that, but I have a go, and I look away, and I see just in time to see that those torpedo bombers have left. But hopefully Squadron 2 here will catch up with them and get a few more kills. It's only got a bit of ammo left, but should be enough to take down those 2 at least. So there's 2 more kills, and we're chasing down this other squadron. And well, Squadron 3 completely missed the target. But I'm getting 4 into position while we try and take down at least 1 more of these torpedo bombers. Yep, we got 1 just before we ran out of ammo. And okay, Squadron 4. That looks pretty good to me. But they didn't quite travel the arming distance. So, well, I did no damage. Now everybody's coming back to the aircraft carrier. And I decided that basically I'm going to have to run to B to try and decap it. There aren't, or you look on the minimap, there aren't any enemy ships there at the moment. But there are a lot of enemy ships that we can't actually see. They're winning. Basically, we've got 2 battleships left, they've got 4 battleships left, which is really unfortunate. And 2 of those battleships, we don't know where they are. we're getting our aircraft up in the air.
Group 3, maintaining present course.
I don't launch Group 2 immediately because I want Group 4 to land. And then I send Group 2 up to guard the northern battleship because I figured that's what the aircraft carriers will be focusing on. Well, I send my bombers down to this southern battleship because, well, it's the one that's most threatening to us personally. So my allies' torpedo bombers come in, and they look like they're doing pretty well for themselves there. Yeah, the second salvo missed, but the first one got 3 hits. And my squadron number 3 is going in. And they get 3 hits and manage to sink it. So now I decide to focus on the battleship in the centre, since that's where I've just ordered my ship to go to. And then I order my fighters down to the centre as well. I'll change my mind, decide I'm going to send my torpedo bombers up to finish off this last battleship. Basically because the friendly battleship in the north has just died and left it on very low health. So I want to knock it out of the game if at all possible. We'd still be outnumbered, but that way it would only be 2 battleships to 1 instead of 3 to 1. But I kind of botched this attack slightly. What I didn't realise is that we've basically actually almost lost this game on points. So I have to sink this battleship really quickly to be able to, you know, have us a chance of winning this game. Unfortunately, my torpedo bombers are quite slow, and by the time they get there isn't a lot of time to muck around. But unfortunately, I muck around a bit here.
Group 4, we're under attack.
So I'm trying to get a decent broadside shot into the battleship, all the while the points are ticking away, and it was about now that I realised that I don't have time for this. So I line it up and come in, but it's just a little bit too late.
Group
I
4,
mean, we probably still would have lost anyway, but I could have delayed the game by about a minute or so. I see, second best on my team again, shot down 23 enemy aircraft and sunk that 1 battleship. So that was pretty good. I basically managed to, well, myself and the other Hosho basically managed to shut down all the enemy's aircraft carriers. We basically had air superiority at the end there. Did a fair bit of damage with my torpedoes and a bit of damage with flooding, but I still kind of think aircraft carriers are the weakest class in the game, just because well, it's so hard for them to do enough damage to actually change the outcome of the game, especially since they have to wait so long for the aircraft to fly and then fly back and whatever. They can't do that damage quickly, so they kind of rely on their team to basically survive and keep its own or hold its own for at least the first kind of 5 to 10 minutes of the game until they can start really making a difference. So in that sense, aircraft carriers, they don't really win games for you, they're just there to kind of give your team a bit of a nudge in the right direction. Anyway, the Hosho, as you've seen, pretty good aircraft carrier. I actually quite like it, even though, as I've said, it's an unlucky ship for me, but I'm sure it'll improve in the future. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time.